Good morning, welcome, and thanks for coming and for having showed your interest that you are here. So we are here in a conference on the question access to protection in Europe, bridges and not walls. This is a program already in the title. What we see is that over the last 20 years, the European Union, through the Schengen system in particular, the visa regime, the control mechanism, has effectively made it impossible for the vast majority of refugees to reach safely and normally and legally the territory of the European Union. And this is one starting point. The other starting point is that we have a jurisprudence of the Human Rights Court in Strasbourg, which is very precise on the question of borders and what should happen and what should not happen at the borders when people who may need protection, who may be refugees, but also who are belonging to other vulnerable categories of persons like unaccompanied minors or sick persons, how they should be treated and how they should not be treated. So this is the other starting point. The conference is held in the middle of a debate, as you know, about Frontex, future Frontex Operation Triton in the Mediterranean Sea on the one hand, and the continuity or not continuity of the Italian rescue operation Mare Nostrum on the other hand. We try with this conference from the non-governmental and civil society sector in the European Union to highlight what is at stake, also on the basis of the research we have done in 6 European countries, namely in southern European countries, Greece, Italy, Malta, Spain, Portugal, but also in Hungary and in Germany, regarding what really actually happens at the sea borders, territorial borders and air borders when people who may need protection arrive there and who are of course undocumented because they have no means to get normal documentation, that means a travel document, a passport and an entry visa. So this is what's about, and of course there is a link when we speak about access to protection, about also the situation in the Mediterranean Sea, in particular where more than 153,000 persons have been rescued during the last 12 months thanks to the Italian Mare Nostrum operation. So we are extremely happy as organizers of this conference that we have Admiral Forfi and other higher officials from the Italian Navy here with us. And very openly also answering to questions from the various participants in this conference. I just to recall that a few minutes ago there was a question, and now what? Yeah, what will be the future? May I anticipate the reply from Admiral Forfi to say, okay, up to now I haven't received any order to stop the operation. So Admiral Forfi is a moment here with us also. As Director of the Italian Council for Refugees, we are of course in particular interested and concerned with the situation in the central Mediterranean Sea with respect to arrivals from Libya, but also from Egypt, and with the question of Syrian refugees arriving in Italy. But we are also concerned, and we will show a video a little bit later in the conference on this, not only what happens on the sea, but also what happens afterwards with the persons once they are received on Italian territory, and that means the insufficient conditions of reception centers to meet also this harsh increase of persons, in particular asylum seekers, who are arriving. And as a matter of consequence of all this, but in particular as a result of a lack of a European policy to really be in the position to have a common response, a common European response, we see all this kind of so-called secondary movement from southern Italy towards Austria, Switzerland, Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, and so on, So also inside the European Union, persons are, and who have legitimate interest to reach another country inside the Union are obliged to resort to irregular means of travel, and very often also to pay again for smugglers. So with this incapacity to provide a European response also to the question of treatment of persons who are already, after all what they have suffered, managed to arrive on the European territory. What then? Why can a Syrian refugee not arrive in Stockholm, where his brother is waiting for him, who has an apartment, who can accommodate him, but he cannot go there in a legal way? This is what is the present situation as a consequence of the so-called Dublin system, and this Dublin system, which we are, as civil society organizations in Europe, are profoundly questioning, and also proposing alternatives to overcome what apparently is a chaotic and absurd situation with regard not only certainly of Syrian refugees, but also from those who arrive from sub-Saharan African countries and continue to arrive also from countries like Afghanistan. Please, in your questions, remarks.
You might have seen Michael Dittering, the Secretary General of ECRE, had to leave, but if you have some questions for him as well, you can get in touch with me and we can get back to you later this afternoon. So questions for Christopher or the entire meeting.
I have a question. Please, be aware that I am nearly deaf, so you have to speak loud and clear and not so fast. Okay?
Okay.
Please.
Maybe a question, Bernd Riegert, Deutsche Welle, German television and radio. Question for the
Deutsche Welle, this one.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to thank you for the video document you made. It was really interesting. I only recently had the pleasure to see it. It was made by Chiara Sambuchi. It means, if I will remember.
We'd like to do it again with Triton, if we may. So my question is basically, what's the difference now for you between Mare Nostrum and Triton? Triton, when will it start? How will you manage to, to rescue refugees?
I can speak for hours about Mare Nostrum, but I can speak only for seconds about Frontex, because I am not really aware officially of all what they will do. And I didn't read any official document signed. There is a lot of working paper going around, but we have to judge a mission when we can study the official documentation. So at the moment it was said today by the responsible of Frontex that they are involved also in search and rescue activities, and this is important. What is important is that after 1 year of work we made in Mare Nostrum alone, well, it's not true, because the Slovenian Navy gave us one ship and we were supported by the Slovenian Navy in a perfect way, and we are really thankful with Slovenia. But after 1 year in which we were working nearly alone, now we see that in this activity, and not only in the border control, a body, an agency of Europe is involved. We are very happy for this, and we will try to support, in terms of capacity, Frontex as much as we can. And you know that we didn't give only coastal forces, but we offered also a Navy ship to be in condition to patrol high seas, international waters. This is the reality.
So Mare Nostrum is continuing for the time being, and you're waiting for Frontex to say
we
go?
We are today involved in Mare Nostrum like we did the 18th of October 2013, and when we started I received the idea, not written, that the mission had to stand for about 1 or 2 months, and we had to end at the end of November 2013, then December 2013, then January, and we continued in this way because no one at political level decided that it was the moment to stop, for one reason. And so we receive order. We didn't receive any signed order saying that we are going to finish the 1st of November.
So one question again, German Radio, Karen Bench.
I need
Another
your-
question, Karen Bench from German Radio. So you really tell us that Mare Nostrum is going on?
Mare Nostrum is, as I told 1 minute ago, working exactly like we worked in the last year, and we are not passing our activity to someone else. So we will receive orders, but at the moment no one told us to stop the mission. So today I am responsible, and I think also tomorrow I will be responsible. Something could change, but there is no official evidence that at the end of October we have to withdraw.
But who has to tell you to finish?
Well, I receive orders by my CHOD. The CHOD receive it by the Minister of Defense, and the Minister of Defense receive orders by the Prime Minister. So it is evident that there is a chain of command.
Do you think, Isabel Guzman from German Protestant News Agency, EPD, do you think that the activity in a whole will be much smaller soon?
You want, I use my crystal ball because I cannot tell
But
you.
you have to
Please.
plan somehow.
Well, as I told during the conference, Frontex is not the owner of capability. Frontex is an agency with good capabilities in terms of handling a mission. Then there is the offer of the member states. And this is not only with Frontex and EU, this is with NATO, this is with United Nations. United Nations wants to launch a mission, but has to wait the offers of the member states, the nations in that case. The nation could offer a lot or only a little. And the capability of Frontex will be in relation to these offers. The first round of the question and answer of Frontex was with a result that Frontex judged not sufficient to work. And they started a second round. I really don't know if they ended the second round, but I'm sure that they got more. And in any case, I'm happy that now we are not alone, and they are there, and they are responsible, like we are, in this area. And I think that it is a little bit late, but never too late to start. And I hope that day after day, more member states will be integrated in these activities.
Does Italy put at the disposition of Frontex any ships or something?
I told that I know what we offered. I don't know if other member states offered Navy ships.
No,
Italy.
Yeah, sorry, I told you that.
See, what does
Italy offered one Navy ship able to stay at sea 7 days a week with every kind of sea state conditions. Yes, not Italy, but Italian Navy. Frontex has been offered also by police forces, Guardia di Finanza, Guardia Costiera. So normally we have an horizon. Our horizon is related to the IC, the international water. Normally the navies are called blue water ships because the ships are sailing in blue waters, very deep.
Maurizio.
Ammirale, Maurizio Molinari, redattore sociale. Two questions. One, you're telling us today that you haven't yet received an order to stop Mare Nostrum, but most likely this order will come sooner or later. I mean, Alfano announced that the operation will be ended, so it will come. From your experience, when do you think this order will come, and what will happen if things are like they are now with Triton, as it's dispelling now and as it's deploying now, and also with Mare Nostrum, likely to be suspended sooner or later, what will happen in the, for instance, in the waters where Triton cannot go and patrol? And second question, you talked during the conference. You spoke about the identification on board Mare Nostrum ships, and you said that it's carried out by police officers, but the screening and identification when possible. But what if a ship, for instance, a passenger ship, is going to rescue migrants in a SARS operation? Mm-hmm. So what happens? There are no police officers on board. So who's carrying out the screenings and what's the procedure?
So you made a lot of questions. I will try to remember all. For my experience, I have to answer you in two different ways: as a military man and as an Italian citizen and a European citizen. A military man cannot say that in this moment I can give you a forecast, maybe that in 15 days will happen this or that. We will see the events and we will see the decisions. In terms of being a European citizen, I would say that for 1 year in Italy no one was saying officially, politically, that Mare Nostrum was going to end, and we had no reaction by Europe. When a politician at the level of Ministry of Interior told we are going to end, we had finally a reaction. So at the end, maybe that is not the way military men conduct these activities, but there is an exchange of political statement which at the end had helped the process, because Europe understood that it was the moment to decide. And it is not an easy decision. I can understand that a lot of member states don't want to be involved. And this mission is not loved by everyone. In every nation there are different positions, and luckily we are all in democratic member states, and the population is not oriented in the same way, 99%. So what is evident is that we need some decisions, and up to this moment, these decisions taken in Italy on this subject have been, from my point of view, responsible decisions. Because very often before today, but also at the beginning of the mission, many voices were asking to end immediately the mission. Many newspapers were saying that we were responsible for the pulling factor of migrants. Many newspapers were writing that we were responsible of more people dead at sea. But no one took the decision to stop the mission, and the result, I think, is a good result, because at least 150,000 people are alive today, and maybe without Mare Nostrum we're not in the same condition. And other pieces of question
about the screening.
Oh, about the screening. The screening it's an interesting situation, because there are some rules, and the rules are written and signed, so we should respect them. First of all, you have to be identified in the member state in which you arrive, and you should stay in the member state in which you arrived and you have been identified. And these are the rules. Very strong rules. And then you have to fight with the reality. The reality is that not only Sub-Saharan, but especially Syrians, for example, when they start their journey, they start with, in their pocket, a ticket and an address. They have a brother somewhere, they have a sister, they have a father, and they have an house and they have a support, an economic support, they have a bed. And it is very difficult to say, you will be obliged to stay here. Because you cannot save a person, a human body, from the dead, and then use violence to identify him and oblige him to stay where he doesn't want to stay. Our mission is easier. Mare Nostrum is not the Ministry of Interior mission. It's not an assured mission. Our mission is surveillance, enhance the security at sea, identify all the targets, fight every illegal activities, put to prison person involved in these illegal activities, destroy every vessel able to make this kind of business. If you don't destroy it, you bring it in Italy. You don't leave in their hands these boats because they cannot continue this activity. Hundreds of these guys are in our prisons. Many ships are in this condition, and we gave a lot of damage to this illegal organization, much more than before. So it's not an humanitarian mission only, but it is evident that that there is another law. The international right says that if you are at sea and someone is in danger of life, you have to intervene. If you are military, if you are civilian, if you are on a merchant ship, in a pleasure ship, in a fishing vessel, it doesn't matter. Your first priority in peacetime or in wartime is to save people in danger of life. Okay?
So, what do you say to those who say that Mare Nostrum has been a pulling factor for increasing?
I'm not saying it. I am fighting against this statement. But someone is saying that because everyone knows that there is a lot of forces, there are a lot of forces in high seas, more people decide to try to leave their country and to reach Europe. The reality is that they start in region and in countries very far from us, in which the information is not shared like we share our information through internet, TV, satellite, and so on. Their cultural level doesn't help them to understand what is happening in other countries, and they start their journey 3 months before arriving on the African coast, the northern African coast. Normally, at least 50% dies during the journey, and when they arrive, they find a situation completely different from what someone told them. Normally, they are caught and put in prison, and prison is an elegant definition because normally they are obliged to survive in a very bad health conditions, and they suffer violence, they sometimes are killed, and sometimes they don't survive in these areas, and then they are obliged to embark, because when they see the type, the kind of boat they should use, normally they don't want to embark in these boats, and they are forced to embark. So I think that if someone is speaking about pulling factor, simply he doesn't know what he is speaking about.
Admiral, Nikolai Nielsen from EU Observer. I have 2 questions. Who are the criminal organizations?
Who is?
The criminal organizations. Who are these people?
Who forced them on the boats?
Who are you? Said there were several hundred people that you put in prison. Mm-hmm. And who are they? And is it like a mafia organization operating out of Libya? And my second question is, are these criminal organizations using boats that are less seaworthy because you are doing your search and rescue operations closer to Libyan territorial waters?
So you were speaking about mafia. Mafia is a generic definition, and I think it's a word used all over the world, meaning that is a huge organization and normally is also connected internationally. And in this case, yes, it's a sort of mafia and is not normally involving only one nation, but there are links. These links for us are very important because when you work in the international waters, you have to follow the international right. And the international right officially says that only in 3 cases you are authorized to intervene. One is piracy, the other one is slaves trafficking, and the other one is illegal radio transmission in the international waters, but making damages for a member state. We are not in the case, but not only for my personal view, but for many others' personal view, when you speak about this kind of migration, you are speaking about something that is worse than the condition of slaves. Because slaves normally are in condition to arrive in good health condition. They have to eat, they have to be pleasant. If you want to sell the slave, you have to sell the slave at the arrival. These migrants are in captivity, are in prison, they suffer the violence, but they are important up to the moment in which someone paid the last part of the money for the journey. After the last payment, their life doesn't mean anything. It's only something that they want to forget. And for this reason, normally they use vessels or dinghies or very old boats in bad conditions. Very often they help, brackets, these boats to sink, making other damages on them. Sometimes we have the evidence, we have the witness, we have a lot of situations like this. They simply, they go with another boat against the weaker boat, and they make this let the boat sink, and the last one we had was with 2 witnesses. They survived because these guys thought they were dead at sea, but after 2 days they were rescued, and they described exactly the situation. So the migrants are not traveling for pleasures. They are a sort of slaves, and what we ask normally is an upgrade of the international right with the capability to fight against this kind of illegal action. In the same time, what we can do with our national law system, with our judges, is to collect before our action all the evidence in video, in photo, in radio communications, in telephone communications, that there is a connection between different nations' illegal organizations. It means that my judge can authorize my ship to work actively to capture these ships, because we can use our national laws to process and to judge these guys. And this has been the reality in all the cases of mother ships. We have 3 different kinds of judges, and I think this is a reality in every member state. The civilian, ordinary judge, the military judge, and overall there is the anti-mafia national judge systems, which is in connection with all the international organization to proceed against international mafias, or as you want to call them. We have this kind of judge, which is always 24 hours a day in contact with us, and authorize us, when they receive enough evidence, to launch a process against these guys.
How many traffickers
Hey,
did you capture?
Oh no, he was
Excuse me,
asking
yeah, he
maybe
had-
half an hour
Yes.
before, but no one cared about him, so I
Thank
want
you,
to answer.
Thank you. Just as a leader of an operation who saved more than 150,000 in a couple of months, what are your concerns now if your operation stops? That's my first question. And the second one is, what advice do you give to the EU states to rescue more lives and also to solve the problem of this refugee in the long term, and also to the refugees who are now still ready to come by illegally to cross Mediterranean Sea and enter Europe? What do you advise? Because some of the programs go to these immigrants. Thank you.
I need the help to remember everything. So our feeling after 1 year, you mean what we think about our mission after 1 year?
If it stops, what is your
Well, of course, if we stop and no one is starting a similar activity, we cannot be happy, because we know that we were not able to change the situation, the reference situation that we saw at the beginning of our mission. At the beginning of our mission, we stated that Mare Nostrum is not the solution to fight illegal immigration. There are other things to do, and I will tell my opinion, but Mare Nostrum was like an aspirin. There is one man with a very high fever. You give an aspirin, you make the fever lower. Maybe he will survive this night, but then you have to give the good medicine for him, because he has a problem that cannot be solved with an aspirin. So, Mare Nostrum is an emergency mission launched to enhance the security and to save some people in danger of life. But since the beginning, we said that these problems have to be handled in the right places. First of all, in the United Nations organization. First of all, with the crisis management in the area in which they start their trip. In the area in which they think that they cannot survive and they have to leave and they have the hope to find somewhere else their future. Along the trip and in the areas in which they are taken in captivity. How many they are? They are a lot, but it depends on the number of crises you have. More crises you have, and more migrants you will have. If they are happy in their country, they will not leave their country, first of all. Then, not because we are good men and good women, but because we understand the process, we can say that if we work immediately in the right direction in crisis management, maybe that we will solve that problem easier, before, and cheaper. If we don't want to intervene, we will have a bigger problem, we will wait a lot of time, and then we will be obliged to have a bigger investment for handling the situation. We will have less security, we will be more worried, and we will have a lot of problems. So, from our point of view, it's better to intervene immediately. And when we see the numbers, and everyone is worried about 100,000, 150,000, we should remember that only with Syria now, I think, has only 4 million people in its territory. 1.4 million is in Turkey. 1.5 million is in Jordan, 1 million is in Lebanon, no one is crying. And they will not stay there for all their life. They just want to survive, and Jordania, Turkey, and Lebanon are helping them, and I think it's a heavy help, really heavy, compared on what we are doing. It's enough.
Yeah, just one more. What advice do you give to those who are waiting to cross still?
I think I cannot give any advice. I can have all my sympathy for them, because if you see the story of my country, maybe that 1 century ago or less, a lot of Italians left our country because they were desperate, they were looking for a better future, and they found a better future somewhere else, and normally they didn't like to leave Italy during the First World War, during the Second World War, at the end of the Second World War, but they were obliged because they want to give something to eat to their children. So I think I can understand them, and like we have been supported by other countries, not always in the best way, we can understand that now is our turn. It's a rotation. I think maybe in the future the European will migrate to China, you don't know. Okay? You will go to China?
Somebody, yes, in the corner.
I can tell you that this year 5,000 Italians found work in Albania.
Doing what?
I don't know, but now they are officially registered in Albania and they have a good work. So if you remember, before Albania was coming in Italy.
Just to come back to the traffickers, please. Could you tell us how many did you catch or capture? Or
What?
Quante persone sono state catturate?
Yeah, I gave today the official numbers. You should have it. And it is interesting that we have 2 moments in which we get them. While they arrive on board and they stay, and this is the other answer I didn't give you, no, I didn't give to the first question. When they are on board a military ship with police, with doctors, with sisters, with everything, and they stay for 24, 48 hours, the women are in a better security condition and safety condition, children are safe, people are divided by different search and rescue events and ethnic divisions, and they start to speak. And before they were not in condition to speak because they were all mixed. Normally, if you send for a search and rescue a merchant ship, they stay confused together. The responsible of the illegal organization and the migrants. When they arrive on a ship, they are divided, they are checked, and they start speaking. With the witness of these people, we have been able to get and to put in prison as Navy forces more than 350 persons. But then there is another moment in which they arrive ashore and they are often in a better condition and they continue telling their story and they give us the evidence that there are other responsible between themselves and the police got about other, I don't remember, but I think other 300 or 400 persons. 700 persons are too much or are only a few. We have to compare this number with the previous years, and you will see that no one was got. So at least 700 are not in condition to work anymore. And they are not in prison for 1 year, because when they damage the boat and they try to make another boat sinking, they are going to go into prison between 10 to 16 years, because they are trying to kill a lot of persons. And this is normal in every country. Okay?
I think we have to wrap up. If you have just one last question, and then we have to go.
So
Yes.
what I think about Triton, again, what is your fear about Triton?
Well, maybe you were not at the conference. I tried to be very polite about Triton, and the reaction was a violent reaction because I think they feel themselves different from us. But I cannot judge something without knowing very well what it is. I don't know how many ships they will have, which kind of ships, which kind of crews, which kind of agencies are involved. We started a few and we became more. And now in our ships, our crew is a crew made by military, by civilians, by men, by women, by volunteers, by NGO, by police, by mediators. This is another thing that maybe I didn't tell you, but there are people very important for us. Normally are older migrants now supporting the Interior Minister, and they make easier for us the first contact and the capability to convince them to do what is important to do. So we don't use any kind of violence to answer people they want to identify with force people. We don't identify with force people that we save from the sea. We try to convince them to be identified. We take photos in any case of these guys, but we don't use our force to identify. And the mediators are really a wonderful weapon because they have the same experience. They know what they feel in that moment. They help them, and if they are helped, our mission is easier. And the other weapon we have is the full transparency. All the journalists who asked to be on board our ships have been on board our ships for days, sometimes for weeks. And so we have not to describe our activities because they describe our activities. At sea, not ashore.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up to that. Is there a transmission?
If you come in Rome, you will have a beautiful command because I have to leave Bruxelles in
Is there a is there sort of a transmission of experience from your mission to Triton?
Yes, of course. In every situation like this, there is a common understanding made with a lot of brainstorming, workshop, and so there is all the capability to give our experience to Frontex, and I'm sure that Frontex is interested to get all our lessons identified and never learned. Okay?
Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much for attending. And there is the rest of the conference, which is more for experts, let's say, but it's going on until 4:30.
Thank you.
You are free to join.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anna, I have a question. Would you have read a video
Love to do another television story about Mare Nostrum or Frontex. Usually contact.
We give you the camera.
I talked to the command in Sicily.
The command in Sicily, we give you a contact.
Okay.
And will there be some time today to make interviews?
See with them with his assistant.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yes.
It's flight back at 1.
At one.
Yeah, you have to check.
I was just asking if I...
Just after the BBC. No, I think that is the best.